No, I can't believe I'm making a TW video either. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. We're going to talk about territory wars today, guys, the best comps. And I have to say, this is a very challenging topic to research and figure out the best comps, because at the top end, it's very secretive. People don't want to talk about anything that might give their opponents an advantage. And even though my guild does not play territory wars much, people still don't want to talk about it. They're afraid of getting in trouble or whatever. They don't want people to say, hey man, you gave them our awesome comp, because it's all very steeped in secrecy. People want that competitive advantage, and that's alright, that's fine. I'm here to show you guys some of the best comps. Maybe we won't get all of the best, and we're not going to include anything from Datacron compositions. So like, for instance, one of the current teams would be like Mon Mothma with Biggs is killing Leia, and we're not going to do that because that doesn't normally happen. That's not a thing. It's not a thing. That's a thing. In general, we're going to go with the pretty solid. Here's the best team. So before we jump in too far, huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are awesome. I couldn't do what I do without you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything. You're the true heroes out of everyone else watching this video. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. And to all of you who want to support the channel for free, that is also super appreciated. Please help me mount the algorithm, folks. Like, subscribe, and comment. It's gonna be a good time. I promise that you might have a good time. So let's talk about GAC versus territory wars for a second, and I might refer to the top 16 a little bit, or if you see some good like people who are really into territory wars, they'll reference the top 16. And so think about it in terms of, versus GAC. So in Kyber, you need 11 teams on offense, 11 teams on defense. That's 22 total teams, 110 characters, right? And for a lot of rosters, that's actually, it's getting to be to the point where that's not enough. We kind of need to be able to use more. We have too many characters. In territory wars, it's even worse a little bit. You need 8 teams on offense and 8 teams on defense. And that means you're going to have 16 teams used in theory. Now, I know that you can fail, and that's a reality for a lot of guilds, most players, but in theory, in the best set, like in the ideal sense, you're only going to need 16 total teams to compete in territory wars, which means the top 16, every time like a new Galactic Legend comes out, then they become part of that top 16 group. And they need 80 characters. And what that really means, the thing that really does to it, is you need fewer and fewer characters. You need to use, like, every time a new good character comes out, a new character kind of gets pushed out, right? Like, it's not like, oh hey, this new character came out and suddenly territory wars we need to use 81 characters each. No, it's like, well, which character is he going to replace? So teams like Dash and Hondo kind of get shoved out because you need fewer teams to be able to fill all those slots. Now, I realize that at lower levels than the very top, like the Gauntlet guilds is what it's called, the top 10 guilds, I now realize that a lot of the lower guilds still use a lot of more filler teams, and I'm going to have a few of those listed for you guys, but just so you realize, what we're talking about is like top 16 teams. When a new character is released that's good at territory wars, or a new team, it kind of jostles the top 16 and it messes with the meta a little bit. The other thing you want to keep in mind, folks, are Omicrons. They're incredibly important. Datacrons are very important for the meta as well in territory wars, but Omicrons are also going to be they're going to shape territory wars. They make it so incredibly distinct from GAC that it makes it really difficult to translate one to the other. So I do have an Omicron ranking video. I'm going to link that in the video description, and you'll find a link to my Omicron ranking infographic as well. So check that out, folks. We don't have time to cover all of that stuff. This is already probably going to be a really long video. So without further ado, let's get to the whoa, we're in the game. This is madness. Are these territory war characters? Man, that's pretty neat. So we're going to go over the GL builds first. In the top 16, for the top 16 teams, there's 8 Galactic Legends right now. And so we're going to try to run through the GL portion because they're not quite as interesting, and they're probably similar to what you'd expect. I tried not to do much overlap, but that's just inevitable. We have to. It's Thanos, guys. It's inevitable that we're gonna have some overlap, character overlap. So first off, though, we have Kenobi here, and the thing you want is double tanks. If you put them on defense, you need double tanks. Inquisition will destroy you if you don't put double tanks down. They still probably will destroy you, frankly, but if you don't have double tanks, you're really in trouble. So, Mace with the Omicron, very, very strong. Otherwise, this team doesn't need many, really any Omicrons. You want the double, what I think of it as, like, you have Kenobi, they have double Togruta, they have double tank. That's what it is. 2 Togrutas, or 2 Snips, whatever you want to call them, 2 Ahsokas, and 2 tanks. That's what you want every time, because otherwise people will destroy you with Inquisition. They'll destroy you with a few different things, potentially. So, yeah, double tank. Very, very important. Rey, right now, probably the best comp is going to be with Cal and Fulcrum Ahsoka with their Omicrons. Now, if you don't have their Omicrons, then there are any number of Rey comps that you can use, including like Barriss or L3. They're, you know, like kind of more tanky characters. And, you know, the idea is to create such a tricky situation for your opponents to try to beat that you just, you kind of time them out or whatever. And Cal is, like, you'll note that this is also a full light side unaligned force user, full Lasufu squad, if you will. And you know, so Cal does some cool stuff with that. There's a lot of good internal synergy on this squad. Keep in mind though, this team is significantly worse if you don't have both of the Omicrons. You can see I don't have both of them. It's a crazy expensive comp to be able to do, and it still loses to Leia really easily, but this is kind of one of the top defensive teams that you'll see most of the top guilds placing Rey on defense, because there's not a lot that beats it outside of, especially in territory wars with those Omicrons, outside of like Leia. Maybe Jabba would do it, I don't really know. Who knows, guys? Jabba you probably want to save right now to kill Leia, but in general, this is going to be the best comp. You want the number one Omicron on this team. You can see pretty much everyone could use an Omicron, including Skiff Guard even has a territory war one. You can skip that one. Embo is the one that makes this one pretty overpowered. It makes the team really strong. And you know, typically this team is used on defense, though lately there's been a few Datacrons that are like, well, I can't, like we just get destroyed. Like Afra destroys this team so easily right now with the Datacrons. So, I mean, the whole meta is based off of Datacrons too. I mean, and things are going to change from moment to moment, or, you know, meta to meta as Datacrons dust and are replaced by new things. That's just the reality, but this is the best, you know, I'm showing you the best versions throughout all the metas. You know, you'll have to make adjustments. Your territory war officers will have to as they see fit, but hopefully this gives you a nice little springboard at least. So Leia has a few different options. So you want the core of Leia, R2-D2, and Drogon. Now, some people get crazy. I've seen a few different variants of this, where you put Drogon with like a Saw team and all this stuff, but in general, you're gonna want R2-D2 and Drogon, and then the last two are the ones that are gonna be up to debate. And so, like on offense, in general, I think Leia's just gonna end up being on offense quite a bit, because she takes care of a lot of different nonsense for really good banners in territory wars. Whereas on defense, she can get beat by some fairly frustratingly simple and bad teams, just because of you can abuse the mechanics a little bit. And so, if you want to go fairly cheap but also very effective, using Old Ben and Mon Mothma is really nice. And then you get the summon from Mon Mothma. You summon Worthless Guy, and then with R2-D2, you can target him, in fact, to have the foresight and everyone else gets stealthed. And then you can resummon Worthless Guy as soon as he dies. You know, if he catches a stray whirlwind to the face, then he's fine. He'll be fine eventually, or we'll find a new one. It's all the same, man. He's kind of like their mascot in a way. But I mean, Mon Mothma's not targetable. Old Ben is fairly tanky under Leia, so not that kind of under Leia. You guys are sick that you even thought of that. How dare you? But the other team that I really like this idea, guys, is using the fish with Jyn Erso. And, you know, Adrad does a few cool things. And if you read his unique, Jyn can't die until Adrad can't die until Jyn dies. And, no, other way around. Jyn can't die till the fish dies, till they have a fish fry. And Jyn can revive people. She revives any rebel that's on her team. And so, you know, on a Leia team, that it's fairly obnoxious. It's really strong. And you're not going to use Adrad that much in Territory Wars. I don't even think I have an Adrad team listed. And this isn't even just the top 16 teams. This is just I've listed probably well over 20, and Adrad just doesn't factor into the equation that much. It could be used, guys. You can use it, but it's not great. I wouldn't recommend her Omicron unless you just are crazy or potentially lacking wits. So, Jedi Master Luke. So, one of the things that, like, here's what I'm talking about, you guys. We're distilling down into the very strongest characters, right? And so, we don't have a lot of Jedi teams. We have a few of them, but Jedi Master Luke, the Galactic Legend, is going to just take all of the non-Galactic Republic Jedi that he can. He'll just be like, hey guys, come hang out with me, because there's not a place for you otherwise. So this is a good team, usually on offense, guys. This team gets destroyed on defense pretty hard, in fact. So depending on if your guild runs Phasma, and you have to have pretty specific modding for Phasma, and you have to have specific comps available. Supreme Leader Kylo, if you want it on defense, you want the double tank version of him, and you usually want a Datacron that helps justify it, because without a Datacron, this team dies pretty easy, and it doesn't even have an Omicron to boost it. There's just not really that much to help it, but I mean, like, the current Doubtcron is really good, or the one that made their defense go super high. You know, so there's a lot of teams that can kind of justify Supreme Leader Kylo on defense, but if you want to take Phasma for offense, which Phasma is a terrible team on defense, you want Phasma, you probably just want to keep Kylo and Phasma, like, keep your whole first order on offense so you can mix and match as necessary. On offense, Supreme Leader Kylo ends up being pretty versatile. You can take him with, you know, Night Sisters or whatever other madness. You know, you can use him with Watt sometimes. I don't know. You use your imagination. You take him with armor. All kinds of stuff. I mean, take him with Jedi. I don't even care. That's a terrible suggestion, but just, you know, Lord Vader. So, you know, some people are putting Inquisition with him, and that would fit with the crunch that we're seeing, right? As we get more characters, we're going to start replacing these other ones. But the thing is, Inquisition are just so strong right now. With all the Jedi kicking around out there, Inquisition, the auto-kill Jedi immediately are just really strong. So Lord Vader, usually keep him for offense these days, but he could be okay on defense depending on the Datacron situation. Maul still hangs out with him. Yes, I know that there are all of the different dark side Mandalorian comps kicking around, but that's more GAC oriented, frankly, than it is Territory Wars. Those comps don't really find much purchase. And Piet, you don't have to worry about dropping Piet here, because you just really don't use troopers in Territory Wars for pretty much anything. Like, sadly, that's just the truth. So, say the Eternal Emperor. So it's like, why are we even discussing him? Because pretty soon he's going to get Bane, and it's going to change everything. But on defense, you see a lot of different things. You can have like a Darth Revan variant with him, and ironically, like Malgus just doesn't hang out here for whatever reason. Most people were like, yeah, we just leave him out, and there's probably a great reason, and I don't know what it is. You can put Treya, because she doesn't have an Omicron in Territory Wars. You could put the Treya trio with Sith Empire Trooper, and that would give you a full Malgus team for later, for a variant, for offense or defense, something like that. But this isn't bad. This necessitates a pretty decent counter. If you want to put an Omicron on Sidious, he does a lot of interesting stuff with Sith. It's a pretty luxury Omicron, but it does make the team significantly stronger. And then, of course, we'll have Darth Bane in a month, and he's going to change everything. So, Sith Eternal Emperor, fairly common team on defense lately. And if you're going to be putting him on defense, you can't put just Sith Eternal Emperor and Bane down. You have to put the full team. So, for whatever it's worth, guys, just something to keep in mind. Now, getting into the non-Galactic Legend teams. If you don't want to use Phoenix, which is sad, I know a lot of people are going to be working on Phoenix as like their starting squad, and they want to use Rex, and if you do want to do that, and you want to put the Omicron on Hera, the more power to you, do that. But if you're in a top guild, General Skywalker with Captain Rex there, it's pretty decent on defense. I mean, there's a lot of things that beat it, but at the same time, it does mess with a few teams for sure. The new Dark Trooper Moff Gideon squad with the Imperial Remnant. This is the best version of it so far, though who knows what's gonna, like, Dark Trooper could replace Death Trooper eventually. This is a pretty good team. The Omicrons, of course, are what makes it so ludicrous. Like in GAC, it's a pretty strong team with the Omicrons, the lead, and all the other ones. The special and the unique, all of them really, really strong. So, this is like kind of the new hotness, and this is one of those teams that it's like, okay, a lot of the top guilds have had to make those mental adjustments of like, okay, what are the top 16? Dark Trooper Moff Gideon just shoved one of those teams kind of out the door, in a way. Now, Afra is one of those situational ones. You don't want to put her on defense. Sometimes, depending on what Datacron she has, she's going to be pretty transcendent and awesome. Right now, she has a great Datacron that kills a lot of different things, including a few different Galactic Legends, and so she's mostly just an offensive team, but she does make the top 16. She cracks it every once in a while at least, though remember, her Omicrons and the bad Omicrons that her murder bots have aren't effective here. And if Vader's not good in the current Datacron set. To be clear, guys, you probably want another droid or something like that. Now, with Inquisition, this is the best version of it, and they just destroy things. The best Omicron on Grand Inquisitor now. Now, my main account, unfortunately, has the lead Omicron, which you usually don't use. You can use that on offense if your opponent places Inquisition, then if you have a lead Omicron on Grand Inquisitor, you're going to be able to win the mirror match pretty well, because it holds on to all of your, it's not doubt, whatever the debuff is. The Purge. Is that what? Yeah, the Purge. So, the stacks of Purge. And so, he actually wins the mirror matches. If people place that Reva team on defense, the Grand Inquisitor lead wins. Otherwise, this team is just so strong. Even if you don't have Omicrons, the best Omicron for him is now this Ready to Die, because it instantly kills. It does a few other things, but it instantly kills a Jedi the first time you use it. It's just like a Nihilist attack. And with so many Jedi teams out there, and because he gets a bonus turn right at the start because of Reva's lead interacting with him, he just instantly kills, like on that Kenobi squad with Cat, just instantly kills Mace. He's just gone. Before anything else happens, Mace is just dead. And it's a pretty wonderful thing for everyone but Mace. Mace is like, man, you don't even have to be a Sith to kill me. This is embarrassing. Out the window with me. And yeah, this is a good team on offense, guys. It really is. Does a lot of cool stuff. And like I said, Grand Inquisitor, he also, think of, like, he auto-kills General Skywalker. He auto-kills Kelleran Beck. I think he kills him. I forget if he has some kind of weird immunity, but he kills a character on that team. He kills a character from the Jedi Master Luke squad. Just a really strong team for offense. Though, people do put it on defense for pretty good effect. Now, there's a few different Starkiller versions. All of them include Starkiller and Juhani, and then for now, at least, the light side, Ufu, doesn't really matter that much. You can throw Visas on there and call it good. Juhani with her Omicron is what makes Starkiller good in Territory Wars. You don't care about Starkiller's Omicrons, obviously. Starkiller sucks without Juhani's Omicron. It makes the team play different, but that Omicron is crazy important. I would say that's probably the single most impactful Omicron you can apply on your roster for Territory Wars if you're kind of a newer player or whatever. Like, there's other good ones for sure, others that are, you know, similarly impactful maybe, but Juhani transforms this team from not good at all to amazing. Very, very strong Omicron. Of course, you have to put Relic 5 on stupid Juhani, but she does make this team crazy in Territory Wars. The one on Mara is also very good. And there's uses for Mara. If you want to use Treya with Ninth Sister, which is kind of a pretty common build to stop some of the nonsense that people face, like if people take Fulcrum Ahsoka, for instance, and have her solo a lot of these different Starkiller squads, and she struggles a lot more against the Treya lead because Treya just isolates her so she can't get buffs, and then she just withers and dies, and it's wonderful. So, you know, a couple different versions of this. Usually it's Juhani and Starkiller is the core, and then I'll show you I think the last team I'm going to show you guys is an EP Mara team that does some cool stuff. Okay, so now we get into the Separatist guys. We have Trench, which in Territory Wars, this is typically what you need the Omicron for his lead. You want his basic next if you can do it, but all three of them are pretty strong on Trench. Like, some of my biggest complaints about Trench is I feel like they put too much of his kit in the Omicrons, and he does a lot of really crazy stuff. Honestly, he does not really a Galactic Legend killer in general, though at lower levels certainly he'll kill Rey, he'll kill a few different teams, but especially when you get to the top, you probably want to put him on defense, and you'll be surprised, even at the very top, this gets a lot of holds, guys. If you have the Omicron on Trench, it transforms that team. It makes it so much better. Definitely still a top 16 squad. Now, the Grievous squad is in danger of kind of getting pushed out of the top 16, even with Droidica, even with that new stupid droid that came out on the speeder thing, Stap. Maybe that droid will end up being really good, but not for this team. They specifically put mechanics in that droid, in Stap, to make it so that you can't really use him with the Droidica Omicron. I'm not going to get into details about it and point out the kit, but like, you could tell that that's specifically why they put those things in its kit, to make the team significantly worse in Territory Wars if you try to put Stap in there, and it's kind of tragic. This team is good on defense. On offense, it's going to have a sloppy win against a few different pretty strong squads, but honestly, this is typically you find this one on defense up until you get to the very end, and then sometimes people just don't use it on offense. Like the top guilds will be like, yeah, we'll just chose not to use it in favor of a more, you know, productive and effective counter, but the squad does do quite a bit. Droidica Omicron should not be overlooked. Now, here's one that guilds do outgrow eventually a little bit, but it's still really effective all the way till you get to the end game. And if you can have your whole guild if your whole guild has relicked Geos, and you put a full zone of Geos with the Poggle Omicron, it is actually very effective, and there's a few teams that this squad still does counter really well. So a lot of the top Territory War guilds will eventually require this, but alas, I mean, it's definitely not the very top one. I will say this: when I first read the Omicron on Poggle, I just dismissed it. I was like, man, that's not good. And then the first time I fought it, it was also like, oh, this isn't good, because I think I probably faced someone without good modding or something. And so I just like used Night Sisters and wiped them out. And then after that, I went on a crazy losing streak and lost to it a ton of times with teams that were like kind of dismissive, because my first impression and my first experience were that it wasn't good. And then it turns out it was, in fact, very good. And it's better than it looks, I guess, is all it's saying. Kind of like me. I'm better than you might expect. Now, With the Keller and Beck team, this is starting to make its way into the mandatory lists, guys. This is a top 16 team as well. Keller and Beck with the Omicron makes this team so crazy. You just want tons. And the fun thing about this one is you don't need relics on him. This team can be amazing at 3 stars gear 11 with Beck, because all he cares about is his protection. And then, I mean, gosh, when you get him to relics though, guys, it's just... I mean, my first move with Ki-Adi-Mundi today was against a Seer squad, a Seer with Ufus, including Jedi Cal. He one-shot Baby Cal. Just one hit, just dead. The whole team died in like 1 minute. It was amazing. Ideally, you have Mace with his Omicron if you can't afford him because he needs to go with Kenobi. Understood. Find another Jedi that's Galactic Republic, and, you know, it's pretty good. Grandmaster Yoda actually does some interesting things here with Beck, just because of his interactions with Ki-Adi-Mundi and the Zeta that Ki-Adi-Mundi has and everything. This is a fun squad, and it's a way to kind of keep that Qui-Gon Jinn team that you invested in a lot of with Anakin, Ki-Adi-Mundi, etc. You can kind of keep that alive. You ditch Qui-Gon because he's dead. He gone. I mean, that's in his name, guys. Why is he gone? It's another matter. But this team kind of survives, and you can actually use, you know, your investment is not diminished, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I threw this team in right at the very end because I forgot that I hadn't thrown it in. Bo-Katan Mandalore. I don't know how good it is, guys. With its current Datacron, probably pretty strong still. Without that, they don't have any Territory War Omicrons, right? Or maybe they have one for IG-12. I will say this. No one who I asked about this team listed this as one of the top squads. I think that that's probably just because it's such a new squad that no one has really incorporated it into their planning right now yet. And also there's a Datacron that makes them really top and obvious that you want. And then once that Datacron goes away, obviously it's going to come down a little bit, not be as amazing, but eventually, you know, it'll find its place into the meta. And, I mean, Bo-Katan Mandalore, good character. Beskar Mando, you know, without his Datacron, he's probably going to be on Bo-Katan's squad. This one is the most uncertain in my mind. There's a lot of question marks surrounding it. So, other teams... CLS, honestly, surprisingly still counters quite a few things. It's a good, you know, can be a decent cleanup as well, but, you know, it's not going to kill like that General Skywalker team with Rex on it, for instance, but it'll kill like a Seer team sometimes. If someone is pretty dumb and puts their Phasma squads on defense, then your CLS team will kill that. Now, Phasma, you need this for offense, guys. Not a good defensive team. Tons of stuff. Just murder it when it's on defense, but on offense, it kills Galactic Legends. It's a fully turn meter. It's like a perfect turn meter loop for your team. It does a lot of cool stuff. Unfortunately, it requires fairly specific modding, and you need specific characters depending on what you're countering. One of the things that people use it for actually a lot, and this is if you want your guild to get to top tier, and this is something I really need to do. I keep promising to do this. I need to make a Phasma video on how to counter Starkiller and you know, maybe a few other comps, but this team is amazing because it has a sealed, almost perfect turn meter loop. So once you kind of get into your groove, it counters like almost, I think someone was telling me they haven't found, like in the top ranks, they haven't found a Starkiller team they can't use Phasma against effectively. Now, the question, of course, is, do you need crew somewhere else? Or, you know, do you need crew for your Phasma comp? Do you need Hux for your Phasma comp? And if so, how does that weaken your Supreme Leader Kylo? That's really the biggest question. Is this plays tug of war with a lot of those requirements of Starkiller, or sorry, Supreme Leader Kylo, so it just depends on what you want to do with that. You also have the old Dad Bod Boba, as people call him, the Scion of Jango, Boba Fett himself. With his lead, this does counter Lord Vader. It does, and it's more effective. I used to tell people you don't need this Omicron. You do want the Omicron. With him, it counters most Lord Vader comps, and you can use a lot of different characters at the end here. You probably do want Beskar Mando in general here, though. I mean, I don't know how that interacts with him and Bo-Katan. Matt, like maybe you just leave him off and add armor to the Bo-Katan team. I don't really know how that interacts. It's still, like I said, it's too new, and people are still figuring it out. With the Datacron, you can just kind of do whatever you want with her. But this team will kill Lord Vader. It kills a few other lower level teams as well, just because Scion of Django and Fennec, they ramp so hard. It's just insane. And then Beskar Mando, of course, can just hang out, keep him alive, or he can do damage with his birds that whistle and his musical birds. It's like we're in Sesame Street here. It's ridiculous. But we have IG and Queel. They can be replaced probably with like some other bounty hunters if you want. I don't know. It's up to you guys. Enjoy your day how you choose, I suppose, within reason. Now, if you don't want to use that General Skywalker squad I was showing you, or if you're like, oh, our guild's at the level where we don't need that, we could just set General Skywalker down and it still gets us a lot of holds, you can use Hera with Captain Rex, and it's still good in, it kills the things Phoenix normally does, with the exception of Hera's Omicron actually does against Jabba teams that don't have like the Boosh Omicron right now, but like against generalized Jabba teams that it just ramps. It ramps every time. What happens every time they do? Yeah, Phoenix allies gain 10% offense. Whenever if a Phoenix ally uses a special ability, they all gain 10% stacking offense. And it's crazy, man. Not to mention her revive thing that she does on one targeted character. Once she does that to one character with her Omicron, it applies to all of them. It makes this team really good. And the tragedy is you're not going to see it used a ton really effectively at the very, very top level. Like in Gauntlet guilds, it kind of gets phased out. You kind of just spread out your characters and teams and stuff. But at lower levels, man, especially because like newer counts, I say this is the best starting team you're gonna have is Phoenix, and with with Captain Rex, of course, and so everyone's gonna have these relic Phoenix, and I don't want you to have a letdown and be like, oh, I can't even use them in territory wars. You absolutely can. You just need Rex to be there, and obviously you have to have Rex there, and then Hera's Omicron is strongly suggested, I guess I'll say. It's a pretty good team if it's not the very, very, very top, where you just don't need all of these teams. Okay, so if you don't want to have Cal if you want to put the Omicrons on them, this team is still fairly strong with Seer. And, Malicos, he loses, it's like, when you get older and people say you miss a step, like he misses like 7 steps. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll throw rocks at you in a desultory fashion. And, sometimes you throw crew in there. Maybe you throw in the Hornchinian Night. She's not a Night Sister. She's an Inquisitor. But, I mean, this team, I see it a lot on defense in GAC. I see a lot of people just taking, like, you put this team on defense with just 2 other UFUs. I don't know, it's okay. This is like, we're in the filler ground now, right? Like, if you don't want to split or smash your characters into the most highly effective stuff, then this team does fine on defense. Keller and Beck destroys this. Honestly, earlier today, I used a CLS team on this. Because all you gotta do is, I don't think they had crew on it, but all you gotta do is put you put damage immunity, buff immunity on Cal and then kill him. And once that happens, no one else gets their protection up boost and the passive healing that he does, and the whole team just disintegrates. I got 20 banners with it. It was a little close. They almost killed Han, I think, but whatever, man. You don't need him. He ditched us at the Battle of Yavin anyways, dude. So if you have some leftover Sith to go, I think that, like a Malgus team, I put Sidious here instead of Talon. If you have Talon here, great. Sidious needs his Omicron for him to be involved with anything in territory wars, but his Omicron is better than expected. A good cleanup team is probably, you know, like the Zori squad. Obviously, you can't use the Omicrons, and they don't have a Territory War Omicron for the team. So, you know, this is the only change I would do to this squad. If you wanted to, you could put OG Poe here instead of Resistance Hero Poe, but your mileage may vary. It doesn't matter. So yeah, like Dash, it's like he just isn't used at all at the very top, but in the middle, like you can put this on defense and expect to get a few holds. People, you know, if you're facing less I don't know, the just disciplined, I guess, territory war teams, you can, or guilds, this team will get some holds. Same with Aiden. Remember, her Omicron is what makes her really good in GAC. But if you have an Aiden team and you want to throw them on defense, like this is a fine option. And then finally, guys, one interesting thing that I just recently saw is against Geo teams, if you have a Palp team with Mara available, and you don't have Starkiller because they're not on the Starkiller team, this kills Geos apparently, like the Geo team with the Omicron. So, you know, you can find some uses for it on offense. Probably on defense, it just gets murdered by a ton of stuff. But the Mara Jade Omicron isn't to be underestimated, surely. So that's it, guys. Hopefully this gives you a few ideas for teams, and helps you understand like kind of the hierarchy of priority that you should work on for teams. And I'm not going to tell you like how you should run a territory war or whatever, but these are just kind of the best team comps that you can work toward if you want to help your guild out, or you know, your guild can kind of use this to position themselves and figure it out. Anyways, like I said, this video is going to be super long. I hope this helps some of you. I'm sure we'll get about 7 total clicks, but thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xerath prevails.